This presentation is designed to help those students who are struggling with the concept of citing and referencing sources in their postings and exercises. This is not an uncommon situation. Citing and referencing often pose a challenge to new students. This presentation will look at three elements. What do we mean by referencing? Why is referencing important? And we'll look at guidelines for referencing. Many new students feel they should be able to simply state their opinions and observations in response to discussion questions. Well, this is not the case at the university level. Here, students are expected to stretch themselves. Students are expected to support their opinions with research, even if that research is simply the weekly readings. When we write an academic paper, we're expected to acknowledge the sources and the influence an expert has had on our work. This is an important concept, and we'll be discussing it throughout this presentation. Many students freeze when they begin to write because they feel they must reference everything. Well, that's not the case. Certain things do not need to be referenced. There are some things we all know. Those things don't need to be referenced. We all know where the sun sets and where it rises. We know where we'll find fish, and we know the colors of the sky and the grass and snow. This is common knowledge. It does not have to be referenced. Those things that are not common knowledge must be cited and referenced. Among those things are opinions, statements, and claims, statistics, graphics, population figures, and financial information. A student, while writing a posting, might find a statistic like you see here, the population of California. Now this must be cited and referenced. Why? Well, there are several reasons. Among them are the time frame of the statistics. Perhaps the statistic is out of date. We might also want to look at who said it. Did this come from a national or a state statistic? Was this person credible? You can see we could have different numbers from different sources. We must also cite claims, such as the strongest home is built of bricks and mortar. Well, who said it? How credible was the source? These are important things to cite and reference. I know, I've heard it before, referencing can be so cumbersome. Well, many students don't see why it's important. Now, here are a few reasons. One, the student is not an expert, though the student may have an opinion. It is academically wise to support that opinion with expert opinion. Some of your writing will be common knowledge, but you'll want to support your ideas. Two, you may choose to quote an author. Your reader may want to go to that source to see what else the author has to say. The reader may want to see if the writer took something out of context, or the reader may simply want more information. And three, when you cite and reference your sources, you're protecting yourself from plagiarism. If you've read the assigned reading, it makes sense to assume you're going to include some of that information in your answers. Now, whether you quote or summarize, which is paraphrasing, the original ideas of another, you must cite and reference, or it is considered plagiarism. You don't want that. Many beginning students make the mistake of simply including the bibliographic reference at the end of their writing. Now, this isn't adequate. How will the reader know what you're referring to? You must include both references at the end of your work and the citations immediately following the quoted or paraphrased material. An important thing to remember is that whether the student quotes or paraphrases the work of another, that work must be cited. There are two kinds of direct quotes. There are short quotes of 40 words or less, and longer quotes of 40 words or more. There are different methods of citing both. Following a short quote, the writer must include a citation that is enclosed in parentheses. This is otherwise known as a parenthetical citation. All this means is that three elements are enclosed in parentheses. They are 1, the source, 2, the publication date, and 3, the page number, or paragraph number in some cases. Long quotes are simply those quotes of 40 words or more. These are presented slightly different from short quotes. Here, the writer includes the quotation by dropping down one line from the writer's own words. The quotation is then indented 5 spaces to the right. When the quotation is finished and the writer is going back to the writer's own words, the line justification moves back to its original position on the left and 1 space down, leaving a block of quotation. Paraphrasing. Paraphrasing. Many students struggle with the concept of paraphrasing. Perhaps it's easier to think of it as the writer is simply summarizing what the source wrote. They're stating the author's ideas in their own words. I often find students doing this, thinking it's perfectly fine to do this without citations, as long as they're not using the original author's exact words. This is totally wrong. Paraphrased material must be cited just as quotations must be cited. Signal phrases. Signal phrases are those little phrases that let the reader know you're going to be quoting a source or paraphrasing a source. It's very important to do this, especially when paraphrasing. Please read the example and note how the author has let us know the author is going to paraphrase Wolfe. The author then follows that paraphrased material with the normal citation including the source, date, and page number. This presentation is a quick overview of citing and referencing. Most students will want more help. Ashford University offers that help. Simply go to the home screen on any course. Look at the purple navigation screen on the left-hand side of your screen. Scroll to the bottom and click on Learning Resources. Then click on Writing Center. Scroll down to Chapter 7 APA. Additional help can also be found by Googling APA 6th edition. On this page, you'll find 3 links to reference guides within the Ashford University Writing Center. You probably will have to sign in to access these.